January 15th, 1947. A mother is walking through a vacant lot in Leimert Park, Los Angeles. She has her young daughter with her. She notices what she thinks is a store mannequin lying in the grass. She looks closer. It is not a mannequin. It is the body of a young woman, cut completely in half at the waist, drained of every single drop of blood, scrubbed completely clean, posed deliberately, carefully like an exhibit. Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was 22 years old, and what was done to her was so precise, so calculated, so utterly devoid of humanity, that investigators who attended the scene never forgot it for the rest of their lives. This is the story of the Black Dahlia, the most infamous unsolved murder in American history. Elizabeth Short was born in Hyde Park, Massachusetts on July 29, 1924. She was one of 5 daughters. Her father disappeared when she was 6 years old. The family believed he had committed suicide after his car was found abandoned near a bridge. He hadn't. He had simply walked away from his family and started a new life. Elizabeth grew up in poverty. She struggled with chronic bronchitis throughout her childhood and spent her winters in Florida and California trying to escape the cold. She was described by everyone who knew her as strikingly beautiful. Dark hair, pale skin, green eyes. She dreamed of becoming an actress. Hollywood was the dream. Los Angeles was where she was going to make it. She moved to California in the mid-1940s. She worked as a waitress, she went to clubs, she met men, she moved around constantly, staying with friends, acquaintances, people she had just met. She had no permanent address, no steady income, no real roots. On January 9, 1947, Elizabeth Short was last seen alive outside the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was 22 years old. She had $10 in her pocket and a small red purse. 6 days later, her body was found in that vacant lot. The details of what was done to Elizabeth Short are so disturbing that newspapers in 1947 refused to print them in full. Even today, the complete details are deeply shocking. Her body had been cut in half at the waist with surgical precision. The cut was so clean and so precise that investigators immediately concluded the killer had medical knowledge or surgical training. An ordinary person could not have made that cut. Every drop of blood had been drained from her body. The body had then been thoroughly washed and scrubbed clean. There was not a single drop of blood at the scene despite the severity of the injuries. The killer had done all of this somewhere else and then transported her body to the vacant lot. Her face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth toward her ears, a Glasgow smile, cut with a knife while she was still alive. Her body had been posed deliberately, arms above her head, legs straight, like she was on display, like she was meant to be found exactly that way. The FBI were called in. The Los Angeles Police Department launched one of the biggest investigations in the city's history. Over 150 detectives worked the case at its peak. The press went into a frenzy. A reporter at the Los Angeles Examiner called her the Black Dahlia, a reference to a film noir movie called The Blue Dahlia that had been released the previous year. The name stuck. Elizabeth Short became famous in death in a way she never was in life. Then the killer did something nobody expected. He started writing letters. On January 24, 1947, 9 days after the body was discovered, the Los Angeles Examiner received a package in the mail. Inside was Elizabeth Short's birth certificate, her social security card, business cards, photographs, and a note cut from newspaper headlines that read, "Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The killer had sent her belongings to a newspaper. He was taunting the investigation, playing with the police, enjoying the attention. More letters followed, sent to newspapers, sent to the police, taunting, teasing, giving just enough detail to prove the writer was the real killer. Then pulling back. One letter said, "I have changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal." Dahlia killing was justified. Another said, "Here is the photo of the werewolf killer. Catch me if you can." The letters were analyzed exhaustively. The paper, the ink, the cut newspaper letters, everything was examined for fingerprints and trace evidence. The killer had washed every single item in gasoline before sending it. He knew exactly what he was doing. And then the letters stopped. Over 500 people confessed to killing Elizabeth Short. Every single one of them was ruled out. Some were clearly fantasists. Some were mentally ill. Some had specific details that almost matched, but not quite. Not one of them could prove they had done it. Not one of them had the medical knowledge. Not one of them could explain the full details of what had been done. The real suspects were more troubling. Dr. George Hodel was a prominent Los Angeles physician. After his death, his son, a former LAPD detective, became convinced his father was the Black Dahlia killer. He had medical knowledge. He had a criminal history involving his own daughter. He had connections to Elizabeth Short. His house was put under LAPD surveillance in 1950, and recordings were made of conversations inside. In one recording, a voice believed to be Hodel says, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead." George Hodel was never charged. The Black Dahlia investigation was plagued by problems from the beginning. The crime scene was contaminated before investigators arrived. Newspaper reporters tipped off by a police source arrived at the scene before it had been fully secured. Evidence was compromised. The chain of custody was broken on multiple pieces of evidence. Witnesses came forward and then disappeared. People who claimed to have seen Elizabeth Short in the days before her death gave conflicting accounts that could never be reconciled. The LAPD in 1947 was a deeply corrupt institution. There were credible allegations that evidence was suppressed, that certain suspects were protected, that the investigation was steered away from certain individuals. The letters from the killer were handled by newspaper reporters before being passed to police, destroying any forensic value they might have had. Every avenue of investigation hit a dead end. Every promising lead went cold. Every suspect had an alibi or couldn't be placed at the scene. The Black Dahlia murder changed Los Angeles forever. It shattered the illusion of Hollywood glamour. Here was a young woman who had come to the city of dreams chasing fame and instead found something unimaginable. The case inspired dozens of books, films, and television series. It became embedded in American true crime culture. The phrase Black Dahlia became shorthand for Hollywood darkness and the sinister underbelly of the American dream. Elizabeth Short's mother gave interview after interview. Her surviving sisters spent decades trying to find answers. None ever came. The LAPD officially closed active investigation of the case in the 1990s. The file remains open technically. An unsolved homicide never officially closes, but no active investigation is being conducted. Over 75 years have passed since Elizabeth Short's body was found in that vacant lot. The killer was never identified, never charged, never brought to justice. Whoever cut Elizabeth Short in half, drained her blood, scrubbed her clean, posed her body, and then taunted police with letters for weeks walked free. They lived their life. They grew old. They almost certainly died without ever facing consequences. The letters stopped. The killer went silent. Elizabeth Short was 22 years old. She came to Hollywood with $10 and a dream. She deserved better than what this city gave her. She deserved justice. She never got it. The Black Dahlia case remains open. The killer remains unknown. And somewhere in the history of Los Angeles, a monster lived an ordinary life and was never made to answer for what they did on that cold January night in 1947. Some cases leave a mark on a city that never fades. Some victims deserve to be remembered not just as a name or a headline, but as a person. Elizabeth Short was a daughter, a sister, a young woman with dreams and hopes and a whole life ahead of her. What was taken from her was unforgivable. What was never given to her was justice. And that is the darkest truth of the Black Dahlia. Not just what was done to her, but that whoever did it got away with it completely. Subscribe, we uncover a new case every single day.